But
Well, let me ask you.
it's all the same thing. And I kind of appreciated that Kanye said how they do, because they do. They 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 rush to silence and deplatform and censor anyone who says anything that they feel they don't approve of. And the goddamn thing about it is they're wrong.
What's going on, folks? We have a great show for you today. So, legendary comedian and TV star Rosanne Barr seems to be defending Ye from the media onslaught. These are clips from the Quite Frankly podcast. Feel free to listen to their whole interview, it's great.
Kanye West. Here's a guy a lot of people are a little bit torn over, especially since he's become a little bit more of a religious figure of sorts. It's very odd. What do you think about him? How far along in his MK deprogramming do you think he is?
Well, like I was telling my friend, oh, look at Kanye trying to be me. He's totally trying to be me, but of course he can't never be me because he isn't me, and he never will be me. But it's cool that, I ran for president in 2012, and the speeches that I gave were very much like the speeches he's given now.
And Rosanne Barr also seemed to disagree with certain things Ye said.
You know where he loses me? And my eyes kind of glaze over because honestly, I don't know what to make of it one way or another. The black Hebrew Israelite kind of talk. Well,
they all have to do that. Everybody who's coming to enlightenment, they all have to say that kind of stuff. They all do it, and then they get over it because you know what? It's no fun being a Jew. Trust me.
However, she spent more of her energy speaking truth and using it as a doorway to talk about important issues that Kanye was bringing up, rather than just shut the entire conversation down, as a lot of left-wing and right-wing media seem to be doing. And I love that. Before we start and go over some more clips from her new interview, let's throw it back to a classic chat we had years ago in which Rosanne broke down the system.
Because they all took care of money, and they'll take anybody's money, and they don't have any ideals. It's just money. It's like, they've been trying to create a big depression so that, before the next election, like to actually throw people out on the streets, the left, so that it looks bad for Trump. They don't care about the people. But so they rigged the whole Federal Reserve and the interest rates, and Trump just came in and he goes, this is a great time to invest, and boom.
Should be a great show. It starts now. The Dream Rare Podcast, welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. It's the Dream Rare Podcast, welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Dream Rare Podcast, and today's episode is on Rosanne Barr's take on Ye, the artist formerly known as Kanye West. Yesterday live, someone said that Rosanne was basically backing Kanye, and I was praying that it was true, because I love Rosanne, not just as a comedian, but I like her personally. We've hung out multiple times. We're friends. So I was like, please, I know Rosanne is Jewish as well. And, a lot of media is turning against him and just saying, don't look there. It's all terrible. It's all evil. And I know Rosanne, I was like, I hope she really does back Kanye, because I said yesterday that Rosanne was the Jewish Kanye, but she said in her interview that Kanye's the black Rosanne. So Rosanne flipped it and said, I'm not trying to be Ye. I've already done that. He sounds like me. So epic. I love it. But let's just take a few of her takes. I just chopped up. It was a long interview. All credit to Quite Frankly podcast. He talked to Rosanne the other day. So I just found some of my favorite clips and posted them. So let's do a little reaction to them. Let's watch.
Well, let me ask you.
It's all the same thing. And I kind of appreciated that Kanye said how they do, because they do. They rush to silence and deplatform and censor anyone who says anything that they feel they don't approve of. And the goddamn thing about it is they're wrong. And they're largely bigoted, racist, like tokenist racism like liberals do.
You're talking about American Jews?
Yeah, the lefties. I'm talking about progressives.
Right. Well,
The ones who called me a racist. Because in their minds, they think they so mischaracterized my tweet because of their own racism. It really makes me mad, but I don't have hours to go into it.
So, she sees the Kanye thing way different than Ben Shapiro and a lot of left-wing people in the media. I know Ben said it was like Die Stürmer type propaganda, comparing it to Nazi propaganda. Rosanne, who is also Jewish, is being way more honest. In the whole podcast, to be fair, she doesn't agree with single thing Kanye says. It's not like she does, oh my God, that's exactly what I would think. She thinks differently. However, she sees the genius in Kanye. I see the parallels between Rosanne and Kanye because they're both really, really, really smart, and everybody acts like they're really, really crazy. And they're both a little wild, but they're also very insightful and very wise. I became a friend of Rosanne. She could speak for herself, but I obviously liked her for multiple reasons. Great person. I think she trusted me because I didn't look at her like an opportunity or, oh my God, you're so crazy. Like when I listen to Rosanne talk, I'm like, she's super funny. Everybody knows that. She's the top, probably the best female comedian of all time and one of the best comics ever, either gender. But I don't see her as crazy and racist, and like all these words mean nothing to me. I don't care if you're left wing, right wing, Christian, Muslim, Jewish. You could say what you want, but I got my own ears and my own eyes. So when I used to hear, Rosanne go on certain type of rants, I used to hear the truth in it. Obviously, even if Ye or Rosanne says something it's not snowflake mode and I throw out the whole interview like, oh my gosh, Rosanne and Kanye said something I disagree. It's like, no, I hear the genius in them. I'm like, she's really smart. You might not have agreed with a tweet or something, but why are we going to cancel Rosanne for saying one thing when everybody says nothing all the time? This is I'll call it the Trump effect, but it's deeper than Trump, where it's like, oh, his thing hurt my feelings. What do you want? You want the comfortable lie? You want everybody to just say nothing all the time? It's fun to play it safe. No, I don't like the safe players. I like the people that just go out there and give us 3 hours of gems. They might say something that hurts my feelings or whatever, but who cares? Like everybody wants a suit and tie Mitt Romney, Obama style liar. And then they get all mad at Ye and Rosanne for not being that. Oh, I'm sorry a celebrity that has money told you the truth. They didn't have to do that. Ye and Rosanne could have just sat on their money in their TV shows and just said nothing. But they have a spirit. They have something telling them, I want to say something more than just nothing. And this is how you thank them, is by trying to deplatform them. Let's listen to more stuff because she made some interesting things. She even talks about at one point a Jewish civil war. We'll get into that, but let's watch another clip.
Kanye West. Here's a guy a lot of people are a little bit torn over, especially since he's become a little bit more of a religious figure of sorts. It's very odd. What do you think about him? How far along in his MK deprogramming do you think he is?
Well, like I was telling my friend, oh, look at Kanye trying to be me. He's totally trying to be me, but of course he can't never be me because he isn't me, and he never will be me. But it's cool that, I ran for president in 2012, and the speeches that I gave were very much like the speeches he's given now. And they're very much like the speeches you hear Trump give. And, people haven't watched them, but they should. And anyway, I know what's happening in his head about being somebody who cares about the world and wants to use their, prestige and the power that they've accumulated, the social power, the social score, if you will, that they've accumulated, wants to use that in the best way to help the most people, the most suffering people. That's what's driving him.
I mean, that's a beautiful statement. I love that as Ben Shapiro and Andrew Schultz and left-wing media and right-wing media, they all come together to say, yeah, he's crazy, he's dumb, he's evil, it's all anti-Semitism, don't look there. Rosanne, who is a Jewish woman, I don't say that because it fully matters, but it does in this conversation, because there's people like Ben Shapiro that are like, oh my gosh, I'm so offended by that. My ethnic, religious worldview can't handle it. And then Rosanne's sitting there being like, not only am I not going to condemn everything he said, but I'm going to accuse him of basically copying me, and I said it first. She's almost like, yay. I'm not going to shut him down. I'm him. I see the good in him. I see that he's trying to break through the mind control, and he's doing that. That's a beautiful thing. We don't have to agree on everything. You can accuse things of being, bad or whatever, but how are we ever going to have a conversation unless we point out the good and be like, well, that wasn't all bad. I love that she's doing that. I know she didn't fully agree with everything he said, but for her to go out on a limb and be like, I can identify that Kanye isn't what Ben Shapiro is saying he is. He's a good person trying to break through and help people. I mean, this is literally the opposite of what Shapiro and a lot of media says. So I love it. Let's keep listening, because she says some cool stuff.
It's a little bit of a messianic complex that you get once you get, known by one name. It happens to you. And so I can identify with that. And I see that he's already broken through 2 or 3 layers of the social programming that he was raised under, having academic parent. His mom was an academic, and he has a doctorate in art, so that's like 3 mind control programs. In Chicago is 4 mind control programs since the 60s. So I could think about all that deprogramming he's had to do, or reprogramming he's had to do on himself, to get where now he's seeing it coming from like a biblical Jesus way. I think that's more basic and authentic to him than his other things, because he's a real deep thinker.
I mean, that's a nice way to put it. That's a way more honest analysis of what Kanye is going through and what he said. And I went hard this week because I thought about it. Obviously, I spoke a lot over this week about Andrew Schultz, Ben Shapiro, but I felt the same way when they canceled Rosanne. If you want to say you don't like that tweet that she made, whatever, I don't care. But you're going to act like she's not epic. You're going to act like she didn't go on Jimmy Kimmel and destroy him and make him look stupid. You're going to act like she didn't pave the way for women in comedy. You're going to act like, she used to always tell me, and she said it, I believe, in an interview, but when it wasn't cool to do things with other races, she was doing them. And now that it's all trendy and cool, they go back and cancel her. But when it was actually brave to do certain stuff, nobody was there. I can't stand book burning, and I can't stand censorship, and I can't stand great people, interesting people, smart people getting misframed by dumb people. It's like a pet peeve of mine. It's like people that can't do that or can't think that way want to shut you out of the conversation, and we can't have that in this country. And anybody that says, oh, I'm against censorship, but I'm going to say Kanye's spewing Nazi propaganda and that's all it is, you're not against censorship. I'm sorry, you're not. Because if you're going to look at a 3-hour interview and say that's what that is, there's no other way to look at it, oh, but I don't want him to get sent, dude, come on, stop lying. At least give us like an element of like, okay, I think that was racist and bad, but there was this great stuff and I think he's trying to break through. Not just, oh, don't look over there. Stop that stuff. Let's keep listening.
Well, he's right about Black Lives Matter being a middle management clerk mindset.
I laughed my ass off at that.
I'm glad he brought up the fat positivity stuff. He seems more sober than he was in 2017, but I don't know. I don't know. You know where he loses me? And my eyes kind of glaze over because honestly, I don't know what to make of it one way or another. The Black Hebrew Israelite kind of talk. Well,
they all have to do that. Everybody who's coming to enlightenment, they all have to say that kind of stuff. They all do it, and then they get over it because you know what? It's no fun being a Jew. Trust me.
I mean, you got to love that take more than like, oh my God, shut it down. It's terrible. Don't even look there. She's just like, yeah, they all do that. Whatever. She's not that triggered by it. And in the interview, to be fair, I listened to more of it. she talked about anti-Semitism. She used those words. She talked about Gab and BitChute, and she's like, they say that who controls you is who you can't talk about, but 90% of that content's that. So she definitely has a more playful way of talking about it versus just shut it down, silence it, censor it. She's like, I read it, I watch it, I don't, she's not pro censorship and pro completely ripping these people out. So I just appreciate someone who throws me a branch. Like if Andrew Schultz was like, hey, Kanye said some great things, but I don't like some things, I wouldn't be so annoyed at him. Or if Ben Shapiro said, hey, he said a lot of amazing stuff that's so important for humanity, but also I'm triggered by what he said racially and religiously, I wouldn't get bothered by that. It's the hypocrisy and the don't even, ignore and book burn that whole thing. And I want to say this before I play another clip. Ben Shapiro, I have it right here. I want to see exactly what he said so I get it clear. Just to hold a mirror up, and that's my whole thing. A lot of people that I see on like TikTok and Instagram that are like, they'll literally sit there and say, I'm black, I'm superior ethnically, and this and that. I don't even care. I'm not going to call you a black supremacist, or it doesn't bother me at all. What bothers me, and maybe that's unpopular amongst my audience, but I don't care what people think or what they think of themselves or their race. It actually doesn't bother me at all. I'm not a hypocrite. What does bother me is the fact that person that'll say I'm better racially, like a lot of these people on Instagram and TikTok, if a white person did that, they'd freak out. It would be like their arch enemy. It's like, you hate yourself. You hate yourself in another race. You want to act a certain way, but you don't want other people to act like you. That's typical hypocrite. So either be one of these persons that peace, love, positivity, there's no difference, or be yourself, but then respect someone else in your other race. Like, that's the part that really annoys me. It's not the thinking you're better. I'm just going to read a quote. I did one yesterday, but I thought of this after my live stream, and I just want to ask the Ben Shapiro types, what they think about this. So, Shapiro claimed in 2014, it's not super long ago, that radical Muslim majority is false, according to its analysis for Shapiro. I'm sorry, an op-ed, I'm trying to see exactly what it is. I guess here it is. He said, defending that broader ideology by downplaying the so-called fringe minority only emboldens those of the radical minority, and radical Islam tends to predominate inside of Islam. The West cannot be a great defender of Islam because we have no capacity to slice radical Islam out of the broader Islam. So I'm not mad at that statement. I'm not here to condemn what he said. Say what you want, Ben. It's America, or it should be. Here's what I'm saying. He's trying to basically make the point that you can't slice out radical Islam out of Islam, so we have to reject the entire thing in America. What if I said that about his religion? What if I said, Ben, there's no way to slice non-radical Judaism out of Judaism, so we need to reject the whole thing? You get what I'm saying? Would Ben Shapiro allow me to say that? No, he would screech and scream Hitler and anti-Semitic. I'm just asking you, be able to take it if you could dish it out. Like a Rosanne, where she dishes it out, she has her opinions, but she's not going to quash it all. She's going to be like, I don't like that, I think it's hateful, but I'm gonna say my piece on it, and I'm going to point out the good things. Ben Shapiro would cry. He might just literally shake and go, he sounds like a little nerd. He's like, he's like, oh my God. It's like, that's what you said about radical Islam, basically, that you can't slice out the non-radicals, so it's best to just reject the whole thing. Could I say that about Judaism? That it corrupts in a nation and we just need to? Of course not. This is all I'm asking. If you could dish it out, you got to be able to take it. I don't care how people think about their race. If they're a self-hating person, I hate myself because of my race. I love myself because of my race. I think I'm better. I think I'm worse. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo. Have your opinion. Have your perspective. I could speak on it. What I don't like is the hypocrisy. Don't dish it out if you can't take it. There's something weird about that and counterproductive. I want to hear Rosanne talk about what she considers a civil war in the Jewish community, because Rosanne Barr, once again, listen to her speak like it's like a yay. Don't listen to what people say about Rosanne Barr. Listen to her, because she's usually more interesting than any of the people, left wing, right wing, pro this, anti this. She's usually more interesting than them, and I can't stand, while I'm here with some sort of media platform, I can't stand people that try to cover up things that are better than them. It's like, at least go listen to it. So here's her saying something that I'm not really aware of, / I don't know, she says it better.
It's horrible. the Jewish people are in a horrible civil war, and nobody's noticing, especially the Jewish people, who are under the worst mind control. Like I was telling you, Jews are under quadruple mind control, and Black people in America are under triple. Maybe now, since Kanye talked, it might go into quadruple.
Quadruple? Why? See,
but I think the same people that fired me, they were all Jewish. And I went off the Jewish reservation, as Candace Owen and Kanye talk about, and other conservative people of color. But I went off the Jewish ghetto because I actually talked about the Jews of the middle, the rights of the Jews in the Middle East who are not white. They're largely brown and from Arab countries. And American Jewry is blind to that.
I'm going to play the second part of that clip. I mean, it's a larger clip. Once again, the Quite Frankly podcast has the whole interview. Someone said, that's not fair what she's saying. I mean, life is not fair, but I don't, you're entitled to your opinion. This is hers. I'm going to listen to the end and then we'll react.
And in their anti-Jewish screeds that they line up to sign their names to about the Middle East, they have no consciousness of what they have allowed happen to Jewish people who've lived in the Middle East for thousands of years, and how they have helped with a genocide of them because they are so horribly backward and racist here to their own people. And yes, they do rush to silence anyone who says anything that's off the narrative. Well, they've done that to me. I tried to go up to say these very words in Marin County for it's been 20 years now, to speak in just the smallest of synagogues to those people, those leftist progressives. I always say progressive as in cancer progressive, to tell them that they were in fact doing that, but instead they constantly deplatform me, and it's been a civil war for me to say those things. And then after.
So that's her take on what's going on in the Jewish world. You don't have to agree with it. I see people in the comments saying, well, why doesn't she talk about this or that? It is what it is. I appreciate the fact that with her platform, because she easily could have done what Ben Shapiro did. She easily could have done what Andrew Schultz did or the media did and say, he's crazy, he needs pills, he's evil, his kids shouldn't be near him, it needs to be deleted, it needs to be censored, it's Nazi propaganda. She easily could have said that. She easily could have came out and said, that's what it is, don't look. But she didn't. She said, I think he's copying me. I made similar speeches when I ran for president. I see the good in him. I think he's trying to break through the mind control. I think he's tapping into something important. It's just much more honest. We don't always have to agree. We're not always going to see eye to eye on everything when it comes to social, racial, and political issues. But I just don't see anything getting better in the racial or social department when people can't openly talk about it and just be honest about certain narratives. So I love what she said. I think, once again, Rosanne could have easily taken another route. She didn't. And just the fact that she went much further than most right-wing media to pretty much defend him and say that anybody that can't be controlled or, scripted basically will be canceled and challenged. It's pretty epic. And I'm going to end on this note. I'm going to keep this one pretty short. I'm going to try to. Thank you guys for watching this week. Dream Rare Podcast everywhere. Check out the podcast that was a part of, quite frankly. I just want to give full credit there. But my podcast is called Dream Rare Podcast. I know there's this interesting thing, too, because there's a great Morgan Freeman clip where he says, they say, do you want Black History Month? He says, I don't want a Black History Month. Just stop calling me black all the time. I'm Morgan Freeman. You're Mike Wallace. Do you want White History Month? And Mike Wallace, excuse me. He says, I'm not white, I'm Jewish. He says, do you want Jewish History Month? He says, no. He said, I don't want a Black History Month. Stop treating me all weird. I understand that angle of it. And I think in your own personal life, especially when you're in Hollywood, it must get very just annoying to just be like, oh, black man, black. It must just be annoying for Morgan Freeman, who's just epic. It's just like, stop acting like I'm this other that's so, it's weird. I'm Morgan Freeman. I don't have a problem. I'm not oppressed. Stop treating me weird. I get that angle of it. And I get the angle where people will then say in this world, let's stop talking about ethnicity, which it would work if everybody was doing it at once. But in this world, I think, unfortunately, we need to have tough conversations about it, not to demonize others or hate or anything, but it's like, we don't live in a world and we don't live in a country where nobody sees race. I mean, it's all that the left wing sees. Asians are getting discriminated in school. White people that don't have any sort of minority in them are getting discriminated in school. The hockey leagues are trying to de-white hockey, yet they're not trying to de-black every other league. It's like, why would you? It's not about sports at this point in time. I mean, it's not the 50s and 40s anymore. And even back then, it was about how good you were. It's just they had different leagues. It's not about your race. I love sports because it's about how good you are. I don't look at MMA fighters and be like, oh, he's good because he's black or he's good because he's white. Who's the best? Who's the best? That's what it's about. That's why it's so boxing and who's the best fighter? That's why they're all so based and right wing, all these MMA fighters, because you can't be a snowflake and beat up people for a living and defend yourself and do jujitsu. MMA has the most based, fighters in the world or athletes in the world. So at the end of the day, it's like we can't not talk about race, unfortunately, because everything is about race in this world. And, I'm not going to just sit and act like it's a disadvantage if everybody's discriminating against you based on your race constantly, using victim cards, pushing back, but you're supposed to act like it doesn't exist. Like, if you would have talked to me in 2009, I didn't even think about this stuff. I was like a kid that just, was going through life and was whatever. But now I could see it's like everywhere they go, they're trying to eliminate people from commercials. They want to change everything. They want to treat you like garbage, blame you for everything. So unfortunately, I think that people do need to educate themselves on, ethnicity, religion, etc., to be well equipped to have a conversation. Because if you're not in this world, they're going to stomp all over you. When it came to the vaccines, not to get off topic, when they were sending people door to door to educate you, you remember that? They were like, Biden administration's going to send people door to door to educate you on vaccines. I was hoping they came to my door. I wanted them to come to my door because I know more than the person educating me. I've armed myself with education on vaccines, on liability, on the PrEP Act, on mRNA shots, on the data. Luckily I do this for a living, so I'm constantly learning every day because I have to in order to make a show. But it's not like that even scared me. I'm like, come to my door and I'm going to film it and it's going to go viral, me just completely destroying you with facts and science. So that's how you win in this world, and in an overly racist racial world, I'm not going to call it racist, but racial, whether you're Jewish, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever you identify. Maybe you're Jewish, but you don't think you're Jewish, you think you're white. Maybe you're Christian, but I don't care what you are or what your ethnicity is or what you consider yourself or if it's a race or religion. Whatever you are, educate yourself with knowledge and information and wisdom on all these fronts. So when you're faced with this in any part of life, because you will face it regardless of who you are. If you're black in America, you're going to face somebody that comes to you and treats you all weird because you're black. That's going to happen. You could call it racism. It could go both ways. It might be a left-winger, just treating you like a alien because they're afraid to treat you like a human or something. They're like, oh my God, can I give you, and it's like the Morgan Freeman take where he's like, stop acting so weird around me. I'm not just a black man. I'm Morgan Freeman. I'm the man. You don't got to treat me weird. I do what you do. I do it better. I'm Morgan Freeman. Don't talk to me like that. So no matter what you are, you're going to face crazy stuff in this crazy world. So arm yourself with education, knowledge, wisdom, things that, no offense, but the people who cry racism all the time, they don't want you to know. Because that's an easy word to use and just shut down an argument, but it's really not going to help you. So, regardless of who you are or what you are, there's going to be weird moments in this world, and depending what group is in power and depending what group is on the downfall, it's going to go in certain directions. And just a quick example, during the war on terror, they needed to demonize Muslims to get, Christian and conservative support. I'm not telling you what to think about whatever, it's on you. I'm just saying they tricked Christians and conservatives in the 2000s in order to take away your rights and then persecute Christians and conservatives. There's a message there. You think it's about them, but then it's about you. All of these Patriot Act style intrusions of privacy are now being used against white Trump supporters by the Biden administration, in similar ways. There's a message there. Ethan Klein, he claims on Twitter that he's a dual citizen of Israel and USA. I didn't say it, he did. He's like, I can't be anti-Semitic. You made a Holocaust joke about Ben Shapiro saying you hope he dies in a new Holocaust. You make the rules, buddy. I'm not saying Ethan directly, but nobody can joke about that in your sensitive safe space world, and nobody can, accuse people of that type of stuff. Ethan Klein's constantly accusing people of being racist, anti-Semitic, white nationalist. He's the biggest crybaby. And then he goes over the line, but it's different when he does it. There's a message there. It doesn't matter how Jewish or Israeli or left-wing you are. This is why we have the First Amendment in America. It's not to fight the anti-Semites or to fight the Muslims or to stop the white nationalist Christians. The First Amendment is supposed to be for everyone. And everybody who gets rid of it eventually gets persecuted. It doesn't matter if you got a vaccine. You will be persecuted under the guise of the government can force things into your body because you're giving up that right. So time to stand for the Rosannes and the Yays and the, whoever it may be, of a bigger, smaller extent. It's just so funny to me when someone like Ethan Klein gets censored. It's not like he's getting crazy censored, but it's like, oh, I didn't know hate speech could be against me. Yeah, dummy. That's why you're supposed to explain your argument and not just cry hate speech all the time. So there's a real message there for everybody. Arm yourself with information and knowledge because there are going to be people who bully you. And the left wing just acts like, and I understand where they're coming from philosophically, but they act like, let's just be as obese as possible and weird as possible. And I'm a weird guy. I'm not saying like, oh, weirdness is bad. It's cool to be weird. It's cool to be a little wild. It's not cool to be normal. But I'm just saying it's like they act like the whole world needs to stop for everything else. And that's not how it works. It's better to tell a young guy to be like, yo, the world is not perfect. You should work out and not get fat. I'm not saying if you're fat, treat them bad, but it's like this lie of everybody's going to treat. That's not true. So it's better to tell people the tough truth and be like, this world's crazy. You better work hard. You better have thick skin, and you better figure out how to provide value, because this is a world where providing value gets rewarded. Yes, evil people get rich and powerful too, but at the end of the day, real value is bigger than money and all that. People want it. So, these tough truths I think are important, and constantly telling people that they need to defend from words and they can't hear that, it's gonna come back against you one way or the other. So God bless you guys. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Appreciate you guys so much. Dream Rare Podcast and all my links, if you're wondering where to find me on any social media, any podcast, my music, my Spotify, dreamrarelinks.com. If you're like Anomaly, wow, that's a cool shirt and a cool hat. God is great. Hold on. God is great. It's godblesshats.com. Oh, where do I get God Bless Hats? At godblesshats.com. godblesshats.com. Well, isn't there another website? dreamrare.com, just like my Instagram, dreamrare.com for the hats. godblesshats.com for the hats. I got 2 domains. It's like 2 chains, 2 domains. I'm not playing around this year or last year or hopefully next year. God, appreciate you guys. God bless you. And let me know your thoughts in the comment section.